I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though. How does that feel, by the way?
At this time, officials have confirmed only 3 approved survival protocols. Like, comment, subscribe. An extinction level event is now imminent.
Attention. This is an emergency broadcast. If you can hear this, run! Run for your lives! The world has chosen. The nuclear reaction. This is the nuclear reaction.
So, with all due respect, girl, I promise you would not be smacking anybody in real life. Listen, sir. Anywhere, any place, I would say the same thing I said to you up here. You're an idiot, you're dumb, and you're un-American, you're uneducated, and your IQ is around 50. You're mad at me because I'm smarter than you. You're mad at me because I'm better than you in every single way. You're mad at me because I'm more eloquent than you. If you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, welcome to episode 10 of the Nuclear Reaction, where we have the hottest polemical live debates and discussions and all of the rest of it. What's up, Rabbi Lit in the chat? UY. What's going on, guys? All of my TikTok people and the YouTube people and the X people that are currently watching. We already have 2 people currently in the guest request. If you are in the guest request, go ahead and type in the... If you're in the TikTok guest request, go ahead and tell me what you want to debate in the chat, the live chat, and then I will pick you to come up here. Tell me which prompt you disagree with. Sawyer says, starting a petition to draft you to fight in the Middle East. Oh, that would be so sick. Honestly, dude, imagine the aura I would receive if I was the one destroying Khomeini's foundation. Do you know how cool it would be? That would be extremely cool. Okay? I don't know what's with the... There you go, the screens. Yeah, that's extremely cool. Why does the screen keep flickering? That's weird. Are the Qataris infiltrating me right now? What's that about? I like your content. I appreciate that. But that argument's sort of weak at the same time. It's like you can be pro-nurses and not want to be a nurse. You can be pro-having doctors and not want to be a doctor. So like the idea that just because you're for something or that you support something, you must do it yourself is just silly, obviously. Opinion on the Florida governor race right now? Yeah, I think James Fishback is silly. He obviously isn't qualified to even run because he hasn't been a resident of Florida for 7 years, as is required by the Florida Constitution, and Byron Donalds is going to blow him out. Pause. That's basically all you need to know about the Florida gubernatorial race. He's based, though? How was James Fishback based? I haven't seen a single... Oh, I closed jump desktop. Okay, perfect. I haven't seen a single policy from James Fishback that is great. I think you're a lot better than Dean and Parker. Yeah, Dean and Parker have been doing it for longer than me. And, you know, they sort of got on Jubilee on that Charlie Kirk debate, which really boosted them quite a bit. Are you Catholic by any chance? No, I'm not of any particular Christian denomination. Data center ban is great. Why? You guys can't really tell me what your issue with data centers are. You guys just say that there are issues with them. Is Muslim. Would you debate Nick Fuentes? I would debate anybody, especially the Mexican cult leader. I've said that before and I'll say it again. I'm not afraid to debate anyone. I would debate Mehdi Hassan. I would debate Donald Trump today, okay? If you were able to resuscitate Caesar, I would debate Caesar. There's no one I wouldn't debate. Santana? Santana's silly, man. He's not even a good debater. He's just like a whiny crybaby. It's not that I disagree with Trump. I'd just debate anybody, you know? I hate that you are so likable. That's a hater that's saying I'm likable. I appreciate that, man. Fuentes is a school. Yeah. Shows you're narcissistic. I'm narcissistic because I'm willing to take on all comers. That's interesting. He puts me in a box. I mean, he is like, what, 5'5"? How does a 5'5" Mexican become the leader of the alt-right? That's so humorous to me. Matt the Honey Badger? Yeah. Damn, that 7K a month has you eating a lot, dude. I eat good. I eat very, very good. Are you a libertarian? No. Not a hater. I only disagree with you on the Iran war. Okay, perfect. Thoughts on Fuentes' dad being exposed as 50% Sephardic? No thoughts on that, man. Although from the pictures I've seen, he looks pretty dark to me. Mamdani thinks he is the president? Yeah, Mamdani is like, dude. He knows that he can't actually pass legislative policy to make New York City a better place. And he knows that he's only made it a worse place. And so the only thing he can do is New York City will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. And then he retracts it and says, we actually explored every legal avenue, and we can't find the New York City's mayor's jurisdictional authority to arrest a foreign head of state. Just took him a year to realize that. I mean, it took me 2 seconds to realize that a mayor cannot arrest a foreign head of state. So, yeah. You got messed up on Jubilee, boy. Oh, they messed me up on Jubilee, really? Are you pro BB? I don't have an issue with BB. I think BB is like a modern-day Churchill. That's like my personal opinion. I think he's, this is sort of just my opinion. I think BB is really cool. Like, I genuinely believe the things that I say. You guys have to understand this. Like, BB gives me Churchill vibes, okay? He may be cooked for the next election. He's still a legend regardless. Okay? Love BB, yeah. He's still a legend regardless. What do you think of JD Vance on Joe Rogan? Oh, hold on. Your comment went a little too fast. Let me expand this comments. Okay, there we go. What do you think of JD Vance on Joe Rogan about Israeli manipulators? I didn't really hear, like, I saw some clips. I didn't really hear him say anything too provocative. Do you think China will surpass us in GDP in the next 10 to 15 years? Maybe. But even if they do, surpassing people in GDP does not mean everything. Like, I rather live... like, there's so many perfect examples of this. There are countries with a GDP that is lower than India. I would rather still live in those countries than India, right? GDP, if you know how it's actually calculated, it's not the end-all, be-all, right? Vance or Rubio? Certainly Rubio. Come on. Come on. Okay. I feel like the sweet nay person is a troll, but we'll bring them up and see whether or not they are or aren't. Hello?
Hey, how are you? No, I'm not a troll. I'm a fan, actually.
Oh, okay. What do you have for us?
Well, I would just say like I just follow you. Like I was just wondering, like every time you have like any question about like an argument or narrative, like I would love to help you, like some like advisor, like advising you on some issues, but nothing much. Like for free though. Like I'm not charging any. Like if they give you example, like there's some lot of narrative people argue about. And if you're interested like in knowing a little bit nuance about it, because I do philosophy. So if you ask me about that, that would be awesome. I would love to help you if you need something.
All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming up. All right, we have a guy named Real JS Hands. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this guy up. Thoughts on Fishback? I think Fishback is a goofball. I don't know how anyone can conclude otherwise. What's up, Real?
Howdy, it's Real J Shans. It's like, Donald Trump's username. It's like Real Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was
Are
gonna
you
ask
Australian?
you. No, I'm American. I'm from Mississippi.
Oh, I thought I heard the accent there for a second. Yeah, which prompt do you disagree with?
I was gonna say that I was gonna ask if it was between, let's say, Rubio or Vance, and Trump endorsed Vance, would you still support Rubio?
Yeah, I would.
Do you think that it's concerning how much power Trump has over the Republican Party?
No,
Why not?
because I haven't been given a reason to believe that it's concerning at all. Like, I think he has a pretty strong grip on the Republican Party with his endorsement power, obviously. And if he condemns you or if he smears you online, that's going to harm your elections, right? We saw that with the Texas Republican primary. But I think that it's actually a good thing, because what we see with the Democratic Party is that everything's super decentralized and that they don't really have even two candidates that they know will run for election or would presumably be the nominee. Gavin Newsom is disrespected quite a bit. There's the DSA. Harris is obviously incoherent and unintelligent. So I think when you have a leader to rally around, basically like Trump, it's going to help sort of unify the party and put everyone in check. And that's something the Democratic Party doesn't have, right?
Well, yeah, but it gets to a point though. Like, let's say a good example would be, Thomas Massey losing. I don't really like Thomas Massey that much, but seeing how he was, supported in his district and how Trump's just one Truth Social post automatically kicks him out. Does it not scare you that there's so much power? Because I think obviously, there needs to be structure within a party, but it gets to a point where if one person has so much power, where he could determine who runs in what county or in what area and what district, and he could just like snap his thumb and that person's no longer going to win. I think that it kind of takes away from the independent thinking within the voters.
Well, the voters are rejecting independent thinking if they're using someone's Truth Social post as the arbiter of who they vote for to begin with. And so that more falls on the people than falls on the person, right? Trump gets to decide what his opinions are, and he doesn't always get his way, right? He thought he won the 2020 election, and Joe Biden won, and he wasn't like the president from 2020 until obviously 2025, right? And so 2021 until 2025. So this is sort of like the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, yeah, the way that our system works is that we can use the media to smear people or say certain things about people, and the average person can look at that and they can make their own decision. So if Republicans really love Trump so much, like the Republican electorate, if the Republican electorate really loves Trump so much that they are willing to take all of his endorsements, and support the person who he endorses, then that's what their decision is. And to be honest with you, I don't have an issue with that. I don't see where the issue is.
Well, you just acknowledged that would be blindly voting and not actually critically thinking, right?
Yeah, but I think that's I don't think that's an issue with Trump. I think that's a general issue within the Democrat and Republican electorate and just voting in general. Most people that vote, I don't think, are very, let's say, educated on the policies for each candidate, right? And so that doesn't fall on Trump or even any Democrat necessarily. That more falls on the person. Because you don't have there's no test. We don't have any litmus tests nowadays. It's not like, hey, you have to, take the civics test before you have to vote, or you have to know things about American history. It's just, no, if you are a U.S. citizen, you are allowed to vote in this country. That's just how it is.
But that's the issue, though. If Trump's entire base, and I guess the Republican base, is practically, and I'm not going to say there's a cult. I debate very heavily that there is a cult. I think that Trump's support is actually one of the most diverse groups that we've seen in recent American history. But when there's a group this large that will support whoever he says, obviously, I'm not going to blame Trump for that issue. I would do the same thing if I was in Trump's position. But it's concerning that people are going to do what you're saying is not critically thinking.
That's just the average person, man. That's just the average person in politics.
Is that not concerning? Do you not think that we should have?
Yeah, I think that's a general. I think that's a general issue within politics. You'll find this in every single country. I bet you that if I were to live in any country and do research about any particular country, you're going to find the exact same thing, which is that voters, generally speaking, are not very well informed. And if they already like someone a lot and their policy and their ideology, and that person has already shown leadership skills or has been a leader for the party, then they will simply rally around that person and also support his endorsements. That's just generally how things are. Now, if you want to say, hey, I want to educate the electorate, dude, go ahead, create your own nonprofit organization and try to educate as much people on politics so that they take a very educated approach to voting. But apart from that, I don't see what the point here is.
Well, the issue is that if there's an entire group of people in that country, in the country, and what you're saying is, I guess, most of American voters are not actually thinking about who they're voting for, then that would probably be a problem on how we're voting. Would that not? I don't know if like what your stance is, but do you think that it would be necessary or good for there to be some sort of like a test that you have to take in order to vote?
I wouldn't have an issue with it. I think liberals would hate me for it, though.
Do you think that's constitutional?
I'm not a constitutional lawyer. At one point, that obviously was the case. I don't think it's necessarily something that would be federal. How elections are actually run is on the state level. Like under Jim Crow, for example, after the 15th Amendment, black people obviously had the constitutional right to vote. But what Jim Crow had essentially allowed states to do is to set up their own sort of litmus test and literacy tests and all sorts of different things in order to limit uneducated people from voting. I think even early on in this country's founding, the founding fathers also had some litmus tests for people to vote, and you had to have some sort of like stake in the game, and you had to have like property and stuff. So on the state level, that's not even like an argument about the Constitution, I don't think. It's more of like, do states want to do that? And I think states are allowed to do that. But I don't think they want to, though. That's the only issue.
I guess I'll drop in the comments and see you debate a communist or whatever.
Okay, man, I appreciate it. I mean, I would be okay with it, but can we be honest, man? Like, what would actually prevent us from getting something like that done? Well, leftists wouldn't be fans of it. Leftists don't even think that black people and people of color, generally speaking, can get IDs. That is like a very complicated convoluted concept for leftists. You know, Kathy Hochul, who's the governor of New York, says that, you know, black kids, they don't know what a computer is. And so it's like, if they already have these sort of bigotry of low expectation like beliefs, what makes any of us think that leftists would be okay with tests for voting? Of course they wouldn't. They would call the tests racist. Like, are we not being? Are we not being honest?
To comment on one point that the last guest made, which is the Thomas Massie. This is actually the third time that Trump said to dump Thomas Massie. So the idea that the voters were blindly following Trump, again, this is someone who works in Thomas Massie's district, so it's not like I'm saying this is a
You're
random
in Kentucky,
person.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. According to many, I'm one of the principal reasons that Thomas Massie lost his reelection campaign. That is a widely held belief in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So you're talking about someone who for a very long time was a thorn in the side of the Republican Party. So for example, he is the one Republican who didn't vote Mike Johnson in as Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson is one of the finest men to ever serve as Speaker in the House in the history of our country. Mm-hmm. So when you're the one guy who's voting against the big, beautiful bill in the Republican Party, when you're the one guy who votes against the Republican Speaker, when you're the one guy, it's not that Trump endorsing someone else is why he lost. It's the fact that Trump and then Trump supporters just brought these issues to light. So very often what happens in a primary is only the most radical people or the most involved people vote. But for so long, Republicans had to answer their friends. I can tell you, I was asked by Jewish people all the time, oh, you're from Kentucky with Massie? People got tired of apologizing for this moron. Again, 2 days before his election, he hosted a neo-Nazi rally in his house.
Yeah.
So I think it's very little groupthink had to do with Massie losing his job. Massie lost his job because he thought that he could just do this cute little thing forever, and because he got the job in a three-way race, that he would just hold on to it. And he thought that because he had the loyalty of a friend of his, Rand Paul, who's the junior senator from our state, about to be the senior senator, that he could just coast by. And his own hubris and his own desire to piss people off, he sought to make enemies wherever he could. It just caught up to him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that perspective. Another aspect of it is just a lot of voters, especially in districts, right? And during primaries, they're not educated about everything that's been going on. Like, what percent of Thomas Massie's votes in Congress are actually with the Republicans, or whether he supports certain policies. And so you're right. Like, advertisements put these things to light and allow people to make the ultimate decision. You can advertise all you want, right? Harris outspent Trump, but what actually finalizes these things is the person who votes. And so if people actually believed in Thomas Massie's ideology, they would vote for him, but they don't. That's just what it is. Okay, let's bring up the next guest, Cooper. Let's hope that this person is actually, coming in here for decent dialogue. What's up, Cooper?
Hey, what's up? So I actually am not going to disagree with you. I just had a question for you.
A question
That's
about
right.
Is it a question about one of my prompts?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's about MAMDANI. Okay. So I was gonna ask, do you think that it's like a threat because of so MAMDANI? I saw this the video of him talking about Islamophobia and stuff like that.
Yep.
But do you think that's a big threat to our country, especially with New York City trying to be like people voting in MAMDANI and then talking about things are Islamophobic, but I've obviously the attack we had 20 years ago. So people have you said never forget, and I feel like people are starting to forget.
Are you asking me because I don't think Islamophobia is a threat, because Islamophobia is not a real thing. Islamophobia is people.
Do you think that it's a threat that people believe that, and that people are trying to be more accepting of that basically forgetting about the never forget.
Yeah,
after
I get.
Lack
I
of
think that is.
Islamophobia is a big problem in this country. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with Rabbi there, and yeah, I do agree with you, right? I think that it is a threat to America when people forget what happened on 9/11. And it's not even that Mamdani happens to be Muslim. Mamdani himself is a supporter of terrorism. There was a music video in which he openly said, shout out to the Holy Land Five, which were a group of 5 Palestinian-American men that set up the Holy Land Foundation that were convicted for funneling $12 million to Hamas. He's always been a supporter of terrorists and radicals. And electing a man like that who swears in on the Quran, I don't think is the best move, especially when 9/11 was only like 25 years ago. So yeah, I think that is a threat to this country. I think that communists are infiltrating the Democratic Party. They're called the DSA. They're eroding the establishment, and they are a group. There's sort of a spectrum, right? But there are communists that are just atheists. There are these sort of like Islamo-communists as well. But they all have one thing in common. They hate Western civilization. Everything is racist. People of color are forever oppressed and they're forever victims, right? And they are supporters of authoritarian dictatorships. And they hate capitalism. That's sort of one thing they all have in common. But it's the LGBTQ. It's the supporting of communism, the supporting of Hamas, the supporting of terrorism. It's the supporting of all of those things. They're all part of that one big umbrella. I think that generally is a threat to America. And there's another Muslim guy, I forget his name. He's in Michigan, which isn't surprising. There's a ton of Muslims in Michigan, especially Dearborn, obviously. But he had like links to Al Qaeda, he had like links to Al Qaeda. I think his name was Hamaway. And he is set to, I think, win his election pretty soon. So yeah, it's certainly concerning what's been going on. And the only reason why I think Mamdani and what he does is so important and why I talk about him, although he's only a mayor, is because he's the mayor of the largest city in the country. So yeah, I think it's certainly a threat.
Yeah, I also think it's funny to see people, well, especially with kind of delusion that people, when I was saying, people are forgetting about what happened, and then it's funny to see, well, I know Trump was talking about this in like a press conference or something about like gays for Palestine, or I forget what it was. Or like,
Queers for Palestine. Queers for Palestine.
Yep. And like people don't understand that like that doesn't, they don't work, they don't go together. Like people don't have the reality check, like that does not fit. So it's just kind of funny to see that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I remember talking to a Queers for Palestine person on Umingo, and I think I still have clips on it on my TikTok and my Instagram. But they were like, yeah, I'm a queer for Palestine. And I was like, well, you do realize that there are Palestinians in the West Bank or Judea and Samaria that seek asylum in Israel to avoid being killed because they're gay Palestinians. And they didn't even know that. Like, she didn't even know that was a thing, right? Which is quite concerning. It's like leftists don't know that Islam, especially fundamental Islam, hates them. It's like they sort of like to demonize Christians and say, well, Christians are evil and Christians are suppressive and they use the Bible to suppress people. Hey, leftists, wait until you hear about Islam. Okay, like wait until you want to talk about suppression. Have you ever looked at a video of Afghanistan and how the women are dressed head to toe looking like beekeepers and how they're not allowed to speak? Dude, there was an article talking about an earthquake that happened in Afghanistan, okay? A country that is led by Sunni Islam, okay? In a very fundamental aspect of it. They couldn't... The people that were there to rescue those under the rubble that were stuck, if they were a woman, the men that were called to rescue could not grab them and pull them up because men can't touch women in Islam if they're not your relative or if they're not your wife. Which is ridiculous, right? And so leftists are like, no, but Islam's not a problem. It's like, okay, let's import Islam and keep doing it, and let's see what happens to leftism, right? Because you may get a few people like MAMDANI that try to sort of conceal and do the taqiyya and so on and so forth, but just wait until we get the fundamentalists coming through. And I honestly, I don't know whether or not MAMDANI is a fundamentalist. I think he is. I think he's being deceptive by trying to act as if he's not a fundamentalist or an extremist. But I think that looking through what he said and what he's done and what he believes in, he actually genuinely is an extremist. And so, yeah.
Can I jump in with some wisdom for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, two things. Number one, the greatest threat to America is the Red-Green Alliance, the alliance between
Yes.
two of the most evil forces in history, Islamism and socialism. On the spectrum of the Red-Green Alliance, Mamdani is much more of a threat because of his open redness than his open greenness. It is not his Islamism that is in effect. It is rather his embrace of the evils of socialism. Now, there is a reason that the extreme left doesn't have a problem with Islam, even though, as Islam is a derivative faith of Judaism and any monotheistic faith, they do disagree on social issues. It's because the leftists are not fighting those who they oppose. They are fighting those who they see as enemies.
Right.
Meaning, they oppose the church because they see the church as an enemy. They oppose Judaism because they see Judaism as an enemy. They don't oppose Islam because they don't see it as an enemy regardless of Islam's beliefs. So the reason that Queers for Palestine is so dangerous, the reason having Mamdani as the mayor of New York is so dangerous, is not because queers can exist in Palestine. Of course they can't. It's because if you are able to have the cognitive dissonance to just ignore the fact that if you were walking in Gaza today wearing your rainbow flag, you would be slaughtered, then you're able to ignore threats as they come towards you. Just like the left pretended for 5 years that a 800-pound woman was healthy, and then we invented Ozempic, and they're like, oh, actually, fat isn't cool anymore.
Or plus size.
healthy.
Remember, to be politically correct, you have to say plus size woman.
I don't think it's... No, we don't have to say that anymore because now there's Ozempic. Now you're able to be skinny again, so it's fine. But the fact is that when you tell children you're healthy at any size, you get sick kids.
Right.
When you tell the police, when the man who oversees the NYPD says, listen, if you see someone walking down the street of Manhattan and they're yelling, God is great all the time, and all the time, God is good. And if someone's walking down the street and they're yelling, Hashem Hu Elokim, God is king in Hebrew. And if someone is walking down the street in Manhattan yelling Allah Akbar, which one should the NYPD officer keep an eye on? When you have the mayor telling them those are all the same, or even more, the Christian is more of a threat because he might not like, I don't know, people who think they're kittens, then that's the problem. That cognitive thinking that Queers for Palestine would survive allows terror to take root in America. It allows people like Abdul or Graham Plattner to get into the American government and attack it from the inside. That's why it's such a threat.
I agree 100%. By the way, Cooper, I appreciate you coming up, man. Thank you for your question.
Can I ask one more thing real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just
Just
going to
make
ask...
it very quick because we do have other people in the guest request.
Yeah. So I think, like, obviously, with Mamdani being elected, like, New York City is not in a good place, and, like, a lot of bad things are happening. And also his promises of, like, making things cheaper are just not happening, but and people are leaving. But what do you think about the chances of that ever, like, or at least especially in the next election, like, being a threat to becoming the president, like a socialist becoming the president? Like, how do you think the country is swaying right now in terms of Democrat or Republican?
I don't think people are swaying towards socialism necessarily. I don't think there's any real chance that we get like a so-called socialist as the next president of the United States, especially not like one that's a Democrat. I think that there is a decent amount of people that are obviously in like youth, right, that see socialism or some of these sort of like more leftist policies as more like palatable or what may solve some of their issues, but obviously they're ignorant. They don't understand how these things work, and I've talked to them. They just don't understand how these things work, and they're sort of just looking for solutions to certain issues within America. But I think that there is zero chance that a DSA candidate or a DSA supported candidate wins the 2029 or 2028 presidential election. I think there's like no chance of that happening.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Also, I liked you on
appreciate
Jubilee.
it.
You're pretty good.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right. See you.
Okay, that's an interesting thing. Okay, let's bring in this person from Discord. He wants to discuss about our oil reserves and how it can help the conflict. Hold on. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Wait, how do I bring him in? There it is. Put in the chat. Okay, give me 1 second, man. All right. Oh yeah, it's gonna go there.
Not necessarily help, but how can we, like, not necessarily help.
Right. Hello? Rusty Chop, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah, what's up, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are y'all?
I'm doing all right. What brings you here?
Yes, sir. My main question was really about why don't you think like it's possible to also, since we're the #1 exporter and producer of oil? Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Are you having some connection issues? Like, is there a bit of a delay?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay, can you respond to what I just said now? Hello?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, what was your question?
My question was, especially how dragged out this conflict was. I was thinking that, do you think it, like, in a way, since we're the #1, exporter and producer of oil in the world, do you think it's also a possibility that you could lower gas prices at home while still fighting? And why we're still tied at the hip with OPEC, knowing the corruption?
Yeah, so I mean, this is sort of the thing. Us exporting oil is great. And you saw that happen immediately after the war starting February 28th, where, where did everyone come to? They came to America, obviously, to get some oil. We, like, over 60% of our foreign oil comes, obviously, from Canada. So we're actually less reliant on the Middle East than the entire world is. I think we maybe get 7 to 8% of our oil from the Middle East. But yeah, exporting more oil, I think, is obviously going to help bring down prices. But I think that the most expedient way to do it would obviously be to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is completely open. And I think the new deterrent that Trump mentioned yesterday is great, is that if they attack a single commercial ship, you take a bridge or you take a power plant. That is a major deterrent to them trying to obviously disrupt the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, it's just that, like, I thought that, especially when I first heard about it, obviously, Iran, especially with that threat of nuclear weapons, it's pretty, it's major, obviously. But my main thing was that also, especially when I first came in, that, this is going to be quick. It's not going to take long like this, And especially if we have all these capabilities of ourselves, right? Especially with our self-reliance.
Yeah.
Especially in time like where I'm sitting here and I'm watching go from $2.50 to $3.79 right now. Right? It's not too long ago when gas was $2.50. I was like, he was still president when gas was $2.50, and now it's like $3.79, pushing $4. So I'm just thinking, if we have all these, especially the capabilities when it comes to oil, where are these capabilities essentially?
What do you mean? Like, what? Can you be more specific?
Outside of Iran, right? Outside of Iran, what other possible ways that we could do to lower the oil costs?
Well, obviously, just generally speaking, is getting the Strait of Hormuz, not just having it so it's semi-permeable, but making it so people can freely go through it, right? I think that is generally going to help everyone, including American farmers, right? And so we need to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is completely open, and that is why I reiterated the fact that just yesterday, Trump has this new threat, obviously, which is that if they attack a single commercial ship that is trying to obviously pass through the Strait of Hormuz and export oil to a bunch of countries that are not even involved in the conflict, we will take a nuclear power plant out or take a bridge out. Because I don't think that we need to do some convoluted thing domestically. I think we just need to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is open again. Because when it was open, obviously, completely, oil prices were a lot lower than it currently is. So we can do that again. And oil prices have, sort of dropped. It's decreased since February 28th. Although it should go down even lower when the job is finished. And that's what I'm hoping for.
I just saw it went from 375 to 375. I'm saying every time we're implementing these like long drawn out threats, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it go up. That's another thing. So
okay,
right, but why not the reserves? Are we out? Is something going on? That's what I'm thinking about, like things like that.
We're not out of reserves, but why would we waste our reserves?
Joe Biden did the same thing when he used the reserves during Well, that was during the election, so I guess not.
Yeah, but even then, like, oil prices were pretty high, right? So yeah, I think that getting the Strait of Hormuz to be completely open is the best strategy, man. Thank you for coming up. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, thanks. Alrighty. Let's move on to this person named Meh. They have a pretty, I sort of get troll vibes, but we'll see. I'll be pretty quick if they're a troll anyways. What's up, Meh?
Hello?
What's up? What do you have for us?
What's up? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Told you. I know it, man. I can always tell. Was I not right, though? Was I not right?
I'm honestly kind of shocked. How could you tell that from the average leftist argument? Like, I couldn't hear the difference.
Yeah, leftists, when they have no argument, they're like, let me scream. Did you see that clip, Rabbi Lit, of that, blue-haired leftist that was worried about, being called he when they were saying that they were a she, although they weren't acting like a she at all. They were acting like a big, strong man that was avoiding or not irresisting. They were basically immune to tases from the police officers. Did you see that video, Rabbi?
Must have missed that one.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep up with the amount of insane out there.
Okay, let's move on to the next person. Him, what's up, man? You've been waiting quite a bit. I hope you're not a troll.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay. Do you want to talk about Iran or?
Okay, hold on. Let me bring this other person up really quickly. I want to see if they're a troll really quickly. Give me 1 second. Hello? Derry?
Hey,
You're
Matt.
a troll, aren't you?
No, I have a real question.
You have a real question. Okay, about which topic? Let me bring him up as well. I just wanted to check both of you guys because I see you both. I saw you both in the request for a bit. All right. So him, what topic did you want to debate?
No, I was asking because I had two ideas. Like, if you want to talk about Iran or MAMDANI, like which one?
Okay, we can talk about MAMDANI. Derry, if you guys want to both 2v1 me, I'm totally fine, or 2v2 with Rabbi Lit, I'm totally fine. So I want to get you guys both on the same sort of topic. So Derry, are you like pro MAMDANI, or are you coming up here to talk about Iran?
Well, no, I was actually coming up to ask a question about the sort of 2028, the presidential, I guess the Republican primaries coming up.
Okay,
I'm more of a I'm not really. I think me and him probably have different political views. I'd assume just by looking at his reposts.
Oh shoot!
But yeah, I mean,
I don't even know what my reposts.
Okay, can I bring you up a little later then, or you can ask your question?
That's fine.
I'm gonna bring up a little later. Okay, that's fine. All right, him. We can talk about MAMDANI. Are you a supporter of MAMDANI?
Yeah, I would say I am. I'm a supporter of his messaging, a supporter of like what he's intending to do to deliver for working people. I would say I'm a supporter of that. And then, so I guess my question would to you is like, one of your topics is MAMDANI is failing NYC.
Right.
He notably made 3 promises to all the people that voted for him: free buses, childcare, and then what was the other one? Freezing the rents. And he's delivered on 2 of those already. And like, whether or not you think those are good things or bad things, those are things that the voters in New York City wanted.
What did he deliver on?
Any politician I've ever seen, he's done it in record time.
Right. So you do agree that. Okay. Go ahead, Rabbi.
What are the 2 things you said he delivered on?
He's freezing the rents and then childcare.
That's what he delivered on. Okay.
Yeah.
So neither one of those has happened. He's promised to do those 2 things. There is not universal childcare in New York today, and the rents are not currently frozen.
Right. I mean, let
me help you out.
He made a suggestion to the rent board, and he has promised universal child care. He has not done either of those things.
To be fair to him, I mean, one, rent freezing is just generally a bad policy. He was more talking about whether or not the rent was indeed frozen. In New York City, because I've done research on this, MAMDANI, the mayor, is able to appoint all 9 members of the rent guideline boards, okay?
Right.
And the Rent Guideline Board, which he called independent, it's not independent. He gets to really dictate who's in there, did indeed decide to freeze the rent starting October of 2026. And I think ending probably in September or sometime around in 2027, which is a horrible policy. And even though the Rent Guideline Board already set that to be the case under his tenure. New York City, we can just say, if we're talking about the, they're currently under the highest rent price in recorded history for the city. And I think really in the entire country, which I believe is $5,295 in Manhattan alone, which is really, really high.
But to be very clear, if I am in housing in New York, specifically if I'm in Section 8 housing, government housing in New York, and my lease comes up tomorrow, or let's say August 1st, which is in like a week, my landlord can absolutely raise my rent right now. So the idea of a rent freeze is happening right now is not true.
But I mean,
and there's also other issues with it, right? Like, if landlords know that there's an incoming rent freeze for people that want new leases, because if people want new leases, they're just going to make those more expensive to compensate for the fact that they're going to be losing revenue for basically another year to come.
Okay, so you seem to not like a rent freeze. I'm assuming we both want New Yorkers to be able to afford housing. What would your solution be to that if it's not like not allowing rents to just continue to skyrocket?
Yeah, deregulation and giving landlords and builders the incentive to build more units in New York City. So it's not going to be rent freezes. It's going to, because rent freezes is going to only actually increase the market value of apartments in New York City, right? Because supply will decrease. And there's only there's a lot of demand and there's very little supply. What does that typically mean? That means that prices are going to skyrocket. And so if you're going to decrease the revenue that these landlords are going to make, while their costs only increase, right? Then they're not going to be incentivized to build any units. This is why in the 70s, actually, landlords would pay certain tenants to like burn down units, because they would rather receive the insurance paycheck than actually just get a recurring payment from tenants, because it got that bad where they weren't making a profit. This is also why you see very dilapidated units in New York City, which is because no landlord wants their apartment unit to not be presentable. They all do. They all want people to inhabit them, obviously. But the issue is that I wouldn't want to. I can't afford, as a landlord, let's say I'm a landlord, to renovate this apartment unit so that someone wants to move in if, again, my rent is being frozen or there is price control, because currently, obviously, there is a limit set by the Rent Guideline Board to how much rent can actually increase on top of the freeze that is coming in now. And so if you're decreasing the revenue, but their costs are only increasing, then they're not going to want to build homes and they're not going to be able to afford renovations.
Right. So I think, I mean, I definitely understand. Like I've learned basic economics, right? Like obviously putting a cap on prices could create a shortage. But I think also in certain cases, putting a cap can be beneficial, especially like what's happening in New York. Like it's the most expensive city to live in the country. Something needed to be done. And I think deregulation is something that could work. But in terms of what his voters wanted, what he promised, I think he's delivering on that. I don't know.
Well, he really isn't delivering on it. I mean, like for example, he promised fast and free buses after he took office.
Right. Yeah, that
obviously,
one,
the MTA already sort of pre-approved this to happen, but he wasn't able to prevent the MTA from going, actually, my bad, we won't do this. The MTA, after he took office, decided to increase the standard bus fare in New York City, right? It only went up and didn't go down. And the MTA has lost a projected $1 billion from people that just evade the fare, like evade the bus fare. They're just like, yeah, I'm not going to pay the bus fare. And so we certainly did not get a fast and free buses. It's been 7 months, almost now coming up on 8 months since he's been elected. And we have not since he's elected, since he's actually took office, we have not seen a single free grocery store also come up, which he also obviously promised. He said that he would tax the billionaires to fix the deficit or the budget. He didn't do that. He received a massive bailout from Hochul, Albany, the state capital. And there was also a study done by the CBC that shows New York City, although there's a lot of demand there still, obviously, people are leaving. There's net migration out of New York City rather than in, and people are going to, states like Texas and Florida, which is a problem. And the CBC actually did a study where they found that the share of American millionaires in New York City went from 12.8% to like 7.7%, which is the largest exodus of millionaires that we've really ever seen in recent years. So that projected lost tax revenue is like $12 billion.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of talking about millionaires, billionaires, whether they're leaving or not. I think that's like a big reason why like a lot of DSA candidates and far left candidates are starting to win now, is because they're not apologetic to these people that, like, most people aren't millionaires or billionaires, right? So if you campaign against them, if you campaign to raise taxes on them, then people are going to vote for you, right? I mean, it's that simple. So it's just like, to me, it seems like a good strategy. And then also okay, you can talk about that. But then also capital flight, like, I don't know how much it really is true, because like states like California has all these companies, they're super high taxes. I don't really get how those align.
They're
and
leaving
then also
too, by the way. Yeah, they're leaving too.
Sorry?
There's also data
the
to
taxes
suggest
in
that they're leaving too. Yeah.
But the taxes in California have been high forever, and Silicon Valley's there. All these companies are there. Like, I don't like Apple. Like, Apple's not going to leave California, right? Like, JP Morgan's not going to leave Wall Street. Like, these companies aren't leaving. But anyway,
right.
So
and then also,
the taxes
like,
in rich neighborhoods in LA are a third lower than New York. A third.
Right.
So you're confusing corporate tax with housing tax, the tax just to exist. I just want to point something out. When you began, you said the reason you like Mamdani is you like his messaging and you like what he says. Those are two very valid reasons to like him. I disagree, but they're two very valid reasons to like him. You then said, I like what he's gotten done. But both items that you thought he has gotten done, he has not gotten done.
Well, I said the child. I mean, the childcare, he has gotten childcare for what is it? Like, a few thousand 2-year-olds, and they're increasing each year the amount of 2-year-olds, and then eventually by the 4th year, all 2-year-olds.
I'm curious, under Eric Adams, how much had childcare expanded?
I do not know.
At the same exact rate it expanded this year. So he's done absolutely nothing to change childcare. I have family in New York. My family is in New York right now visiting, but they have done nothing to change childcare in New York.
Interesting.
He has not yet delivered on rent control, although he has promised that it'll kick in October, although that doesn't help people right now. And just yesterday,
actually, it makes it worse for people right now.
Just yesterday, he made a 5-minute video to recant on another campaign promise. He promised while running for New York, for a mayor, that he would arrest a foreign head of state when he came to visit, which he knew at the time he couldn't do. His chief of staff said 2 days ago, we always knew we couldn't do it. So the word for saying you're going to do something that you know you can't do, what's the word for that?
Okay. So if you're talking
what's
about
the word for that?
Okay, so if you're saying things, promising things you can't do, what about Trump promising birthright?
Wait, no, that's so you see where the issue is, right? And so that's called a whataboutism logical fallacy. This entire conversation has been
and
about
just to talk
Mamdani.
1 second, I just want to make one more point.
Right.
You said that people are responding to DSA's message, and I certainly agree. What kind of people are responding to DSA message?
I mean, you could say it's people in deep blue districts, but like you said before,
which people in deep blue districts?
I mean, what, college-educated people?
College-educated, yes. Overwhelmingly, what race?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
White. And overwhelmingly, what socioeconomic sector?
I don't know. I don't know.
Low-income, college-educated whites.
Okay.
So overeducated, under-tax contributing rich white kids are supporting DSA. For example, Mamdani lost in Queens, he lost in the Bronx, he lost in the historically Hispanic, African American, and immigrant communities where there's hardworking people trying to put food on their table. He overwhelmingly won in the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side, where the average house is costing $3 to $4 million and is being lived in by a person who makes less than $100K a year. Among the houses that Mamdani has made available in New York is a series of houses on Central Park West that are now Section 8 housing. Let me explain what that means, okay? That the down payment for one of these townhouses is $250,000, okay? In order to live in Section 8, you need to make less than $130,000 a year. So answer this riddle for me. Who has $250,000 in their bank account but makes less than $130,000 a year?
I don't know.
A rich kid who can't get a job better than barista.
And let me also mention a point really quickly. Rabbi, you do have a lot of background noise, but you said a lot of very important things. I want to just respond to one of the things you also said to him, which is that, I think that you basically said that capital flight is sort of, I don't know, rejuvenating people that vote for or support DSA candidates, that it's making them feel heard and that they're not appealing to the ultra wealthy. Well, this is the issue, is that the ultra wealthy pay a disproportionate amount of taxes. The top 1% are responsible for paying like 40% of federal income taxes. And so you may want to please the lower income people, and I'm not saying they don't matter, or the middle class. Of course the middle class matters and stuff, but you also need those ultra wealthy people and millionaires in your city, because if you don't have those people, you're not going to be able to fund free childcare or free education or any of those things, right? You need those. Like, for example, that study done by the CBC, I think, was like a 12-year study from 2010 to 2022, $11 billion, nearly $12 billion worth of lost tax revenue, not because of billionaires fleeing, but because of millionaires fleeing. MAMDANI wouldn't need or wouldn't have needed Hochul to save him with a bailout if billionaire or millionaires just simply weren't leaving New York City. And so, yeah, I'm not denying that populism works, that you can promise a bunch of people free this and free that and free this and free that, and they'll, buy it. But another aspect of it is being realistic here. I don't think that everyone is rational. I'm sure that you probably don't agree with the current president right now. Like, leftists should agree with me that voters are not always rational, because Donald Trump got elected, right? You guys aren't fans of that. So that's sort of the thing, is that, yeah, I believe a lot of people voted for Mamdani that were obviously white, that were college educated, that are leftists, and a lot of people of color also. And a lot of people voted for him because he's Muslim. But that obviously has not produced positive results for New York City. Instead, it's only produced negative, right?
Okay, you said a lot of things. I'm gonna, I guess, talk about a few of them. Like the first thing, like it's hard when you're saying like only certain areas of people are voting. Like he lost in Queens, only rich people are, but he won. Like he won, so obviously a majority of people voted for him, right?
That's
Candidates are winning.
Not how that works, actually. And I say this only because, what do you mean by the majority of people voted for him? Like I don't know if he got the plurality or the majority of the vote. There were plenty of different candidates. I think he got the plurality. Yeah, I think he got the plurality, which is not majority.
Okay,
yeah.
So, but still, like other candidates and obviously other districts in New York had won. Candidates in Colorado, as you mentioned, in Michigan, like this, it's not just this fringe group of people. It's this message, and you're right. Populism is popular. People do respond to the message. But anyway, so it's
only gonna make them worse. People sometimes vote against their own interests. I think leftists would agree with that, right?
Yeah. But another thing you brought up.
Hold on just one second. I'm curious. Sorry. Nick Fuentes has more listeners in a night than Mamdani had voters.
Yeah.
Do you not think his views are fringe?
I mean, I definitely do. I think it's, I think a lot of his viewers are due to other factors, like a lot of them being kids who are more prone to be on the internet and stuff like that.
So you're saying someone can have supporters and their views could still be fringe?
Yeah, okay, but I'm saying winning.
Right.
I'm saying winning elections, right? Like, okay. But anyway, you mentioned the top 1%, whatever, pays 40% of the taxes, and like this is something that people talk about a lot. But I think it's just like a mathematical error, right? Like, let's say me and you were the only two people in the economy. I made $5,000 a year. You made $900,000 a year, right? And the total tax and you pay $300,000 in taxes, and I pay $2,000 in taxes. Right. Then the total tax revenue.
That's actually not. That's a false equivalency, because that's not how anything actually works. It wouldn't be you paying $2,000 in taxes and you make $5,000. You would be paying, if you make $5,000 a year, you pay nothing in taxes in America. The bottom 50% of taxpayers in America almost pay nothing in terms of federal income taxes.
Okay, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about just in this scenario.
I know that you're generally saying that people that make a lot more money are going to be able to pay a lot more taxes. On top of that, we have 7 tax brackets in America, and I think the highest tax bracket is 37%. So yeah, because we have a progressive tax rate, and because the more you make, the more you pay, obviously people that make the most, although they're a small percentage of the population, are going to pay a disproportionate amount of taxes. That does not change the fact that they're very important, and you definitely want those people. You want those people not just to pay federal income taxes. You want those people so that jobs are available. Okay, like I think Hammer made this point earlier, and I think a rabbi made this point earlier. Higher income people are the ones that can go to restaurants and spend a bunch of money and, pay the waiter a good tip and keep businesses flowing and running. 70% of America's GDP is consumer-based. Who can consume the most? The ultra-wealthy can consume the most. And so people, you may be jealous of them. You may not like them because they're rich, which is stupid because they are literally the reason why Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and welfare and all of those different things are funded. Okay, so it's irrational not to like them, but if you hate them because of just being billionaires, you still need to recognize their importance to the economy and the government.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would agree with that. I do think that people that have less money are going to be more often to spend. Like the propensity to consume is going to be higher when you have less money, right? Because you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you're going to save more if you're rich. But I mean, I guess I would agree
We're
with you.
talking
But again,
about like disposable income. Yeah, they have the highest level of disposable income, the ultra wealthy.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but again, I think it just comes down to the fact that I don't know. Like I've seen, like you're saying that the rich people are leaving. I've seen people say that this is not happening. So it's hard for me to
There's
like.
literally data that it is happening. Billionaires and millionaires have objectively been leaving New York City. This is not a conspiracy theory that people are just throwing out there. You can look at studies. I'm just giving you one for millionaires. There was a CBC study. 12.8% to 7.7%, largest exodus of millionaires in recent American history. This is objectively true. Leaving New York City.
Okay, and then
No city has lost more millionaires than New York City has.
And this is over like what time period?
12 years.
Okay. So then, how does that have anything to do with MAMDANI then?
Well, because he's advocating for policies that would also just make them want to leave even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we don't really know, right? Because it hasn't happened.
If you're a millionaire right now, do you think that like are you happy MAMDANI won or are you not happy MAMDANI won? Just generally speaking.
There are rich people that did vote for him because they care about working people, right? I mean, you can't say all rich people don't like him, but
can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
MAMDANI doesn't believe billionaires should exist, right? He said that.
No, he does not. Neither do I.
Okay. Okay. MAMDANI's largest campaign contributor was who? Do you know?
I do not. Don't tell me it's a billionaire. I do not know.
Elizabeth Simons, a billionaire.
Okay.
Did he give any of her money back to her?
No. Is that typically what happens in campaigns? I don't.
Yeah, you can always give campaign money back. You can always give it back.
But it's a donation, right? I don't know if there's
Yeah, but you don't have to take a donation. Especially if you're... Because the leftist argument typically goes that no one can ethically be a billionaire. That in order to become a billionaire, you must have exploited working class people. So if that's the general position that is held, then why would you want to take dirty money? It's like asking a political candidate, hey, like, are you willing to take money from the cartel if they were to donate to you? And if they were to send you money, would you give that money back? I think a good candidate would always say yes. I don't want to take cartel money. I don't want to take terrorist money, and that sounds pretty rational. So why would MAMDANI take money from a billionaire when he doesn't even believe they should exist, and when he also inherently believes that billionaire only made that money from exploiting working class people?
I mean, because it's the only way to win, right? Like it's like you can advocate to change the system, but in order to change it, you have to be within it. Like you have to act within the system in order to change it, right? I feel like that's simple. And personally, I don't believe all billionaires are bad people or all billionaires have to make their money by harming working people. I just think that nobody like a billion, like people don't realize how much a billion is. People don't like, why does one person need $1 billion when there's people that, can't afford food and whatnot, right?
Let me ask you this. I think this is actually a better way to ask a question. Why does anyone need $5 million?
Because,
if there's a person starving in the street, if there's a homeless person in the street, why do you need $5 million?
I mean, 5 million is significantly less than $1 billion.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but that doesn't answer my question. Why does someone need $5 million or $10 million?
Because I think with $5 million, $5 million, you could reasonably set that for your kids, their kids, and generations before that. $5 million is definitely the amount of money where it's not like unfathomable to imagine spending all of that. I think you could spend $5 million in a singular lifetime.
You could. So doesn't mean you should, right?
Well, I mean,
Why
it
should
depends on,
someone
like,
be allowed? Like, let me sort of like play a leftist, play as as a more person, like a person more on the left here for a second. Why does someone need $10 million to give to their kids as inheritance? Why can't they at max give their kids all the money they need for college, which would never amount to $10 million or anywhere near $10 million, and give the rest away?
I mean, because you can continue to set up their kids and their kids continuing on before that.
This is the thing, is that whenever people bring up this sort of argument of like, well, why should billionaires be able to exist? You know how much $1 billion is? What they fail to understand is that, like, where is that money typically, right? Where is that
I guess
$1
it's
billion?
in I forget the name of the asset, but like it's in stocks or whatever.
It's in stocks and assets. It's not like
Non-realized
it's not like you're dealing with what's that movie? What's that character again? Scrooge McDuck. That's who it is, right? Scrooge McDuck having like a bunch of money somewhere. No, it's not like Elon Musk or any billionaire is like drowning in cash. It's like, okay, let me open up my billionaire vault. I'm just drowning in all of this money that's losing value because of inflation. No. These people create companies in which average day people like me and you buy into, appreciating that country's that company's wealth, and that person's share of equity in that company obviously increases. And so people may have $1 billion or tens of $1 billions in assets, but it's not like they literally have $10 billion in cash or liquid. Right, these are illiquidated, unrealized gains. And by the way, rapidly liquidating this money would be catastrophic because of 401ks, pension plans, and so on and so forth. You don't want $1 trillion to be rapidly liquidated. And if we take someone like Elon Musk, who the left loves to talk about because he hit that $1 trillion mark, if we were to liquidate Elon Musk's $1 trillion to give away or whatever, right? One, the stock market would crash, companies would do horrible, pension funds would be destroyed, 401ks would be destroyed, people would be fired. And after, like, let's say that we give that all to the government, right? The government can use that money for approximately 55 days, okay? And then it's gone forever. And now that company does not have all of that money or all of those assets anymore, and it's basically bankrupt. So this is like, that's what leftists don't tell you. They just tell you $1 billion, that's too much money. But it's more complicated than that, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I think most things are more complicated than what any politician would say. The thing about non-realized like assets is I think that's an intentional thing because you don't have to pay taxes if it's a non-realized asset. So they're able, like, that's an intentional thing for them to keep it in stocks. And then also, like, I think at least my position is not that we should like get rid of all current billionaires, but I think it should be hard to basically impossible for someone to become a billionaire. I favor the tax system that we had. I'm sure you've heard about this or you've heard people bring this up. The tax system we had, post World War II in that era where the taxes were extremely high. And the thing about capital flight, no one was leaving the United States then, right? In fact, the United States,
paying. Do you know what the tax rates were back then? No one was paying that. That's the thing.
90% top marginal. 90%?
Yeah, top. That's marginal, not effective. And furthermore, to hone in on that point, the people that were supposed to be paying 90%. Do you know what share of federal income tax was actually received from those people? Of total federal income taxes, it was like 0.1%. It was like nothing. They were getting no money from that. The whole point of someone saying, hey, we should tax people 90 or 70% is that they think they're going to get a shit ton of tax revenue. There's something called the Laffer curve by Arthur Laffer. You should actually look this up. Simply raising taxes doesn't actually mean getting more tax revenue. It sounds a little contradictory in a way, but that's true because of things like capital flight and because people are more likely to go through clandestine means to sort of like hide their taxes and so on and so forth. But again, the federal government was not like making bank from those top marginal rates that weren't even effective rates. And that accounted for like 400 something families at the time. It was like nothing.
Yeah. Okay. And this is the last thing I saw because I think I've been taking up too much time, but I think the Laffer curve thing or the idea that raising taxes doesn't actually increase tax revenue is super interesting. When I first learned economics, that was a thing that I always thought was interesting. But and I saw this, I don't know if you know Glenn Greenwald on his Jubilee episode, someone brought this up and he said, it might've been you actually, I don't know, but somebody brought this up. I don't think
it was me. I was debating about it.
And he talked about a politician who tried to use that in like Kentucky or Kansas or whatever, and it failed miserably. I guess, like, what would you say to that?
What? Try to use what?
The Laffer curve, the idea of like not of
Well, I don't know about
like
the specific instance. I'd have to know the specific instance in which he was referencing
I think it's
and
just
look
the
it up.
idea that like raising taxes doesn't necessarily increase tax revenue, but I don't think it
Right,
works the
I agree.
opposite way. I don't think it works the opposite way, right?
Actually,
where
no.
lowering taxes
Actually,
increases.
it does. It does. I think I've seen a study on this, and you can also look it up. I've seen something on this where there have been reports in certain areas in which increasing tax revenue, or not increasing tax revenue, increasing tax rates, especially for high income earners, has led to lower tax revenue. A good example of this is New York City, for example. Do you think that they've been decreasing taxes or increasing taxes on people that are wealthy? They've been increasing taxes, yet their share of millionaires has been decreasing, and their tax revenue that has been collected from those millionaires has also decreased. And so it actually goes both ways, where increasing tax revenue does not always mean or increasing tax rates does not always mean more tax revenue. And furthermore, increasing tax rates can actually mean less tax revenue, period. And so that's sort of the interesting. But listen, no disrespect to you. You've been actually like pretty cordial. You have been trolling. You've been having a genuine conversation. So much respect to you for that. I just think that most leftists, I want you to like, even if you're a leftist, I want you to sort of like bring up these points to leftists and see how they respond to them. Because I just feel like within leftist spaces, there's a lot of like, there isn't a lot of contention being brought up. There aren't a lot of like rebuttals, because I just feel like leftists sort of, in a lot of ways, it's sort of like a circle jerk where no one's really questioning each other or their narrative. And it's like, yeah, billionaires bad, and yeah, working class. But it's like, I want people to get more specific and to get more with the data and the studies and so on. But I appreciate you coming up. You've been totally respectful, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing. I think you're right. Leftists, it's hard to get them to they talk about things, but there's really no rebuttals going on because everybody around them is like an echo chamber. Everyone really agrees with them. So I think it's hard. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
See, that guy was actually pretty cordial. That was a good conversation with someone who does not believe that billionaires should exist. I want like more leftists to be like that guy, not like that one person that came up here screaming and probably has like, you know, blue hair, you know, the blue and purple mix or whatever. Yeah, it was a great conversation. Breath of fresh air. Yeah, certainly. So we have this Zach guy. He's been in the request for a bit. Let's hope he's not a troll, but you never know. You can go from a guy that's actually trying to have a genuine conversation to a troll right after. What's up, dude?
Hey man, how's it going? No, I'm a big fan of neo-libertarian phalangism. That's not what I'm here to talk about.
Neo-libertarian phalangism. I actually heard someone bring that up to Parker, where they were just obviously trolling him, obviously, but they were like, I'm a neo-libertarian philangist. Okay, but you actually want to have a genuine conversation, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Iran.
Okay, that's fine. By the way, let me respond to this person really quickly. Try to fix the background noise if you can, so you know everything is just more audible for people. This person says, you want to be white so badly. No, dude, I'm completely fine with whatever race I'm given, okay? It's not about me trying to be white. But it's funny, like, if what I'm doing is me trying to be white, how would I be if I was trying to be black? How would that be? I'm already black, but I'm saying, like, how does that look? How does a not trying to be a Matt Nuclear that's not trying to be a black look like? Do I have to sag my pants, put on a tank top, and go spinning on the ops? Do I have to do that in order to not be trying to be white? Is that what I need to do? I'm just saying, like, I would like for someone to create sort of an anime, right, of Matt Nuclear that's not trying to be white, and I want to see what he does. I want to see how he's like, okay? I want to know his political positions. Unless you're saying that being white is already being right-wing or something, which also obviously isn't true because, dude, I don't know if you know anything about Africa, but Africa is really right-wing, especially socially conservative and stuff like that. So I don't even know what that means. You know, maybe that's the case. Maybe a Matt Nuclear that's not trying to be white is out there sliding on the ops and lives in O Block or something. You know, maybe that's the case. Anyway, Zach, what do you have for us? I'm sorry, that's interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to get more specific with you. Like, how do you justify the Iran war? Are you agreeing with like the administration's justification, like Trump's justification, or?
Yeah, generally speaking.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that Iran has been a long-standing enemy of America, especially the IRGC more specifically since 1979, where immediately after the Iranian Revolution took place, they held 66 Americans hostage for over 400 days, which was extremely disrespectful towards our nation. They've been trying to build nuclear weapons, which was proven by a 2015 IAEA report. They've been killing Americans, funding 3 proxy groups in the Middle East that have been destabilizing the Middle East, doing constant international terrorist attacks, so on and so forth, and having the largest missile stockpile in the Middle East. I think when you have an enemy like that, that is also, allied with China and Russia, you have to deal with it. You have to take some sort of action, and that's why I'm supportive of the action that we're taking.
So why would you need to take some sort of action if they're not actively aggressing?
Well, they still are, right? Like when you're funding the Houthis in Yemen and you're funding Hamas in Gaza and you're fighting Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and all of these groups are anti-Western, and one of them is doing $200 billion worth of economic damage by disrupting the Red Sea, where 1/10 of global maritime trade goes through, that is obviously problematic, even if you're not necessarily doing direct attacks, which they've also, obviously done.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a difference there. So, like, I'm more than happy with making the argument that we can target terrorism in the Middle East, but going to war with a nation is going to be a little bit different. So, like, when we use the justification of, I know you said you agree with the administration, but then you kind of went on a different path. My understanding is that it's more about the nuclear capabilities.
Well,
Right.
not
So,
necessarily. Like that is a part of it, obviously, but I think it's multifaceted. They are the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. They do have or maybe they had, probably still have now, maybe by a little bit, the largest missile stockpile in the Middle East, which was mentioned by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and that going in now would prevent us from having to worry about going in later, where they are almost way too strong with their missile capabilities, right? But I think there's a more multifaceted reason why we're going in. Than just the typical ones that are brought up, like, oh, nuclear weapons. That's one of them, obviously, but I have a more multifaceted perspective on it.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, like, I agree that we can take out the terrorists. Why do we have to go to war with the nation, though? It's kind of what I want to say. So, like, Trump did a really good job defeating ISIS. Like, we took out every single, the last bit of territory that ISIS held in Syria. And if Biden kept up the pressure instead of botching how he pulled out, I think we could have ended it for more long term. But obviously, now that they're back, I'm more than happy to repeat. But once we take a preventative attack on a foreign nation and starting a war, which was described as being at Israel's behest, that sounds a little bit different than, oh, we're just trying to end like this state-sponsored terrorism from Iran. And then we get to, instead of talking about like just the Red Sea, we get the whole Gulf being shut down and global trade being disrupted.
Yeah. So my response is going to be this: the IRGC is itself a terrorist organization. I don't subscribe to the idea that the IRGC is a legitimate government. I don't think that any person that describes himself as pro-Western or anti-Islamic fundamentalist terrorism obviously would say otherwise. They are not a legitimate government. So I think we are actively fighting against a terrorist organization and obviously handling the issue. The ISIS is not the IRGC. The IRGC is wealthier, has more strategic and militaristic capabilities than ISIS could ever hope for. And so obviously it's not the same thing, but just because they may be a nation does not mean they ought to be addressed. And if you're talking about, well, there is disruption in for example, the Strait of Hormuz, I agree with you. Of course there is. With every single conflict, you have to really measure, is this worth our the outcome that we're trying to get? Is oil prices going up temporarily worth the outcome that we're trying to achieve? I think the answer is yes. I think that trying to prevent the IRGC from becoming even stronger, being more enabled to fund proxy groups, getting nuclear weapons, having Pickaxe Mountain, having their nuclear facilities, Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow. I think making sure you handle all of that and say, hey, we're going to put our foot on our foot on the line. We're not going to allow you to continue to fund proxy groups in the Middle East and continue disrupting trade. I think that is good. I don't think that we should succumb to the IRGC or stop what we're doing, or just allow them to keep building and building. No, I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure it's fair to say that Iran the IRGC is going to be, we're not going to declare it a terrorist group. We're going to have to draw a distinction between the two. A terrorist group is not going to be like an established state. Then we're going to start including countries like Israel, where they are attacking civilians in order to influence Iran to fold rather than actually going after the military. Like, so there was a story not that long ago how they bombed a girls' school where they
that was actually not Israel. That was that they suppose that was America. You're talking about Minab, Iran, right?
I'm not 100% sure.
Are you talking about the girls' school in Iran?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even say Israel did that. They say America did that. So
Israel launched the attack. What do you mean?
Yeah, but I don't think you understand. We came in right. If you're talking about February 28th, we came in right after Israel did, right? And Marco Rubio said that they were already planning to do strikes regardless, but Israel got new intelligence on where Khamenei was, and that's why they went in almost immediately and killed Khamenei. But nevertheless, we are the ones that were responsible for the elementary or the girl bombing. I mean, there are specifics in that I can get to, but they don't blame that on Israel. They blame this on us. And let me just say another thing. You said that this war is at the best of Israel. I'm sorry, I have to call cap on that, okay? And the reason why I call cap on that is because just really quickly, I'm going to steelman the sort of Tucker Carlson position. Miriam Adelson and Sheldon Adelson gave Trump a ton of money. They're super pro-Israel. They're Jewish, okay? And they influenced Trump to do this war for them because Trump helped them win the election. That's sort of how the mainstream narrative goes. Well, my issue with that, that argument would be more believable and would have more merit if it was not belied by the fact that in 1979, in 1980, in 1989, Trump was doing interviews before he knew Miriam Adelson or before he knew AIPAC and knew any of these lobbyists, before he even ran for president. And you know what he was saying? He was saying that because Iran is holding our hostages, we should immediately take and seize Karg Island. He was saying this in 1980. He was saying this 46, 47 even years ago. He was saying this a while ago, right? Even in 1979, when the hostage crisis happened, he said this. In 1989, he held the same view when it came to Iran, that we should be actively bombing them, right? And that they're an active threat and they disrespect this nation. He has always held a hardline stance on Iran, like a maximum pressure strategy stance. In 2011, Donald Trump said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, that we will not rule out striking Iran, in terms of the future. And so I refuse to believe this isn't what Trump believes in, because if you just sort of study how Trump is, the last thing Trump wants to seem like is that someone is bullying him into a conflict, someone is bullying him into doing something. He always wants to take the initiative and seem like he's the top boss and seem like he's in control. He yells at Netanyahu, according to reports. It's not Netanyahu yelling at him. He tells Netanyahu, hey, you have to retreat from Lebanon. It's not Netanyahu telling him this, right? And so, no, I think that he genuinely holds these beliefs and that he's not being paid off or he's not being blackmailed into doing these things. He's been a hardline dude. He kidnapped Maduro from Venezuela in Caracas overnight with his wife. Like, do you think Israel got him to do that? I don't think so. I think this is more of a Trump mindset, which I agree with when it comes to foreign policy, rather than Israel is pulling the strings when it comes to this war. I think it's more of that.
I mean, we can speculate about his reasons. Like, we can even say he has his own independent reasons for disliking Iran. But I'm just quoting Joe Kent when he said that that this war is started due to pressure from Israel. Right? So we can't just get away from that. This is the head of the counterterrorism in the United States government. And he said this was started because... Sorry?
Former head of counterterrorism. I heard he say that. He also
right,
the Tucker Carlson network, yeah. Can I tell you what my issue with him is, though? Is that Joe Kent was the same guy last year. By the way, his tweets are still open, are still out there. You can go check them out right now for yourself. Sure. Joe Kent was the one saying, yeah, we need to bomb Iran. Yeah, like when Midnight Hammer happened, June of last year, the 12-day war, he was totally a fan of that. He was supportive of that. Now he didn't hold that perspective. I respect people that consistently hold a perspective over time, not like, hey, I'm going to shift and change looking for attention. And there were also reports that they were already planning to fire Joe Kent And so that could have also been an incentive, like, hey, I'm getting fired anyways. Let me go out with some sort of a bang so Tucker Carlson can invite me on a show or whatever, which I think is also pretty, like, deceptive. I think that you hold to your views regardless of what happens to whatever you're doing. And so, yeah, I don't trust Joe Kent, because this was the same guy that now he's anti-Israel, but just a year ago he was very pro-Israel and saying, yeah, we need to bomb Iran and bomb the IRGC and destroy the nuclear facilities. All of these different tweets. And now he's changed his opinion over the course of a year after they were planning on firing him. Yeah, I don't buy that.
No, I don't think there's any problem with somebody changing their views when there's new information. So like we can argue for like, yeah, the 12-day war was just, but at this point in time, we shouldn't continue to attack Iran, and we shouldn't do a preventative attack. We should stay defensive when it comes to Iran, especially when, like Tulsi Gabbard says, they hadn't made a single move to rebuild nuclear weapons. There doesn't seem to really
Tulsi didn't
there's
say
no
that.
aggression. Yes, she did. What do
No,
you
she
mean?
didn't. She didn't say they have made no moves to build a nuclear weapon. Objectively, according to the IAEA, a day before the 12-day war started, because I know what Tulsi actually said, the IAEA, which is independent, intergovernmental organization, right? They specifically said that Iran could enrich, with the amount that they had now, they were at like 60% enriched uranium. In no time, they could have enough enriched uranium for 12 atom bombs. That's what the IAEA said a day before the 12-day war commenced. And what Tulsi said was that there was no evidence that they were planning to actively, I think after the strikes, to acquire a bomb immediately. That's what she said immediately. But she also went on to clarify that if they wanted to, it could take them weeks to months to do it, which is still pretty dangerous, because no country has ever enriched to 60% uranium and not gotten a nuclear bomb. So that is still terrifying regardless of how you look at it.
Well, so according to a March 18th, 2026 article from Al Jazeera, Tulsi Gabbard said Iran was not rebuilding enrichment prior to the war. So there have been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability.
March
since
2026?
Operation Midnight Hammer. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that after Operation Midnight Hammer, one, they did indeed move centrifuges over to Pickaxe Mountain. There's satellite evidence of that. But what she's saying there is that there was no evidence that since then they immediately went to build a nuclear weapon. But she later clarified, you're reading from Al Jazeera, by the way, and they're a deceptive Qatari propaganda news network, just so you know. But that's a different conversation. Right after that, she clarified, because you can look at the clarification. Yeah, the clarification was that if they wanted to at any moment, they could do it within weeks to months, given their current enrichment that was mentioned by the IAEA.
Right. So that's not a justification for war then, if they have made no, like, that's like saying we should preemptively
That's not
take
one,
away-
but you're strawmanning me.
Hold
I
on.
never said there was one justification for this war. I hold a
I'm
multifaceted
right. I didn't say
stance.
that. I know, but that is not a justification for war. If we're gonna say that they haven't been making they haven't like started to show signs of aggression, they haven't even made efforts to become aggressive.
Yeah, they
And
didn't make
so Tulsi-
efforts to. They didn't make efforts to be aggressive when they started. They were. They are somewhat culpable for the second largest terrorist attack in the 21st century. Really?
Correct. Since Midnight Hammer, they haven't been aggressive, which is why I don't support this current war in Iran. I support Operation Midnight Hammer.
But what do you mean by not aggressive? If I'm funding, let's say I'm doing this. Let's say that I have a country, and my country is called Iran, and I'm in the Middle East, and I'm funding 3 different terrorist organizations in the Middle East that are actively disrupting global maritime trade. One of them basically causing 1/5 of $1 trillion in one single year, according to the World Economic Forum, by the Houthis, which are mainly funded by Iran. Hamas, me supporting them, right, and them, for example, doing the second largest terrorist organization, or second largest terrorist attack in the 21st century. And then you have Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, which is not only operating in southern Lebanon as a destabilizing force, and obviously undermining the Lebanese government's sovereignty, but also during Operation Cassandra in 2008, Lebanon was engaged in money smuggling and narco trafficking that helped poison Americans here from South America. And so, yeah, do you think that if I was doing all of those things as a country, I would not be deemed aggressive?
No, we do not use terrorism funding for justification to attack a nation and bomb like
There's no
schoolgirls.
way. But we do. But of course we do. What are you talking about? Wait, hold on. Do you think that America, right after 9/11, right after 9/11, do you think America should have went into Afghanistan?
To attack. attack these terrorist groups and eliminate all their territory like we did to ISIS in Syria. That
Wait.
is the proper action. That is how we saw a decrease in terrorism in the Middle East, is when we actually took out the terrorists. They have no one to find.
This is sort of what you're also failing to understand. There's a multifaceted reason. Nuclear weapons, ballistic missile systems, obviously, their navy and the potential for disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, and obviously the state sponsoring terrorism and basically calling themselves an enemy of America and basically saying death to America. That's on top of the historical events that we've also seen from them. Yeah, when you have a country that is actively the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, funding all of these different groups that disrupt the Middle East, you have to address them directly. America is not Uganda. America does not stand around while Iran funds these terrorist groups and we're like, okay, let's handle all of these different groups and we have to make sure that we fund, this conflict enough so we deal with Hamas or we deal with this. No, America just needs to take initiative, actually handle the IRGC themselves, and which we currently are. They're being decimated right now as we speak.
Okay, I think you're completely missing the key. So then you named a few your multifaceted reasons, which we've started to address, which you can go deeper into. The nuclear war and the current funding of terrorism. So again, there is
yes, and there's also international terrorism. Like, let me not even get into the international terrorism that they would do.
Sure. I think the key problem here is that you have like a window up to what you think my beliefs are, because I support Operation Midnight Hammer. I think there were good things that we should do. We should be able to curb Iran's violence. Okay, but what we should
wait, but they weren't. Hold on. Let me stop you there. How are they being aggressive? Because you're saying they aren't being aggressive now. How are they being aggressive before Midnight Hammer?
Well, they were launching missiles into Israel. What do you mean?
Yeah. After wait, hold on. I don't think you understand. So now you're going to take a defensive stance on Israel when you were just saying that they're the reason why we're in this war. Like, which one is it? Like.
But Iran's not the reason why we're in this war. What do you mean? This is.
I'm saying Israel. I'm saying Israel. You said Israel earlier. Well, you said it was at the behest of Israel. So why would you care that they were launching missiles at Israel?
Right, because I would support a defensive war. And I'm not saying Israel is inherently a bad country. We can talk about like.
Yeah, but this is sort of the thing that you're not understanding. It's like if they're launching missiles, generally speaking, and they have vast capability to launch missiles, not only at Israel but the Gulf countries, wouldn't we want to stop their offensive ability by being aggressive anyways to start? Which is what Marco Rubio said. Like remaining proactive.
No, because there was no evidence that they were going to be an aggressor against the United States or Israel.
Why were they building more and more?
That's the entire argument.
Well, yeah, but you haven't demonstrated that at all.
Yes,
you just demonstrated that they didn't.
No, you just demonstrated. That they haven't enriched any uranium.
This is what you're failing to understand. Tulsi only said that they didn't immediately go for a nuclear weapon, but they could in weeks to months. That's a separate thing from they aren't being aggressive. Tulsi never said they weren't being aggressive. You're the one saying they were being aggressive.
Why?
And by the way, enriching uranium. Okay. Why would enriching uranium itself be aggressive? It's not like they're launching missiles. So why do you think that's aggressive?
I don't. You said that was aggressive. That would be a reason
hold on.
Because
really
they couldn't enrich uranium.
You said.
So hold on.
Hold on for a second. You quoted Tulsi Gabbard. Your evidence for them not being aggressive.
Keys away from people that drive a car because you think they might be able to go to a bar.
I want to clarify something.
That would be your position.
I want to clarify something really quickly. You said your evidence for them not being aggressive post Midnight Hammer was Tulsi Gabbard, right? Saying that they weren't enriching uranium, correct? Or that they weren't immediately going for a bomb, right?
Well, it was the authority and the the research and the data that you have access to make that informed. I did.
Okay,
the reason that I believe this is because Tulsi Gabbard is in a position where she has access to a large amount of information.
Have that information. I'm not discrediting her, dude. I'm taking exactly what she said. I just want you to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yes,
do you agree that your evidence for Iran not being aggressive post Midnight Hammer was Tulsi Gabbard saying that we're not seeing crazy enrichment levels to 90% yet, and that we're also not seeing them immediately going for a bomb yet, but they could in weeks to months? That's your evidence for them not being directly aggressive, correct?
We said they were not rebuilding enrichment. So it wasn't that we hadn't seen elevated levels. It's that they are not rebuilding.
And not immediately going for a bomb, but they could to weeks to months. That's what she said. She said they could to weeks to months, but they're not immediately doing it. That's what she said. Perfect.
Right. They weren't making any efforts to build a bomb,
and that is your evidence
if they wanted to.
Okay, in weeks to months. Perfect. Which is still okay.
Correct.
And that was your evidence for them not being immediately aggressive for Midnight Hammer. Do you agree? Let's not get stuck here for 20 years.
Yes, I've said this.
Okay, great. So not enriching. Thank you. So not enriching right, and not immediately going for a nuclear bomb is your evidence of them not being aggressive. But funding 3 different terrorist organizations that disrupt global maritime trade, cause the second largest terrorist attack in the 21st century, and cause narco trafficking in America to happen, that is not being aggressive. But not enriching is that right there is not being aggressive. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, neither of those things are aggressive to justify war.
Neither of those
That
things.
is the
No,
standard
I'm
here.
asking you aggressive. Are those things aggressive? Is funding terrorist groups an aggressive thing to do?
Yeah, sure. It's a certain level of
Okay,
aggressive.
perfect. Okay, well,
Yes.
you were trying to argue that it wasn't aggressive earlier. Now you're admitting it is
To
aggressive.
not
Thank you.
justify war. To not justify war.
Yeah,
You
but
agree.
those
Do you agree
things.
there's a
Yeah, but I
difference?
don't.
Do you think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
any level aggressive is justification for war? Yes or no?
No, I'm not saying any level of aggression,
Okay,
but I think that's
perfect.
immense.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
that's
so please don't push me on that because
No,
I've
but you're
clarified
the no. The
multiple
only
times
reason why I'm pushing you
that
on that is because
funding
earlier.
terrorism
No.
is
Hold on.
not
Hold on. The
justification
only
for war.
reason.
I said that about
reason.
6 times already.
The only reason. Well, you don't think it is justification for war. I disagree with you. I believe that would be casus belli. I believe that is justification for war. If you're funding 3 different terrorist organizations, one of the 3, okay, is doing $200 billion worth of economic damage in the Red Sea, and you're not stopping to fund them, and you're only building a missile arsenal, and you're funding 2 other ones, one of which did the second largest terrorist attack in the 21st century. Another one is disrupting the Lebanese government, undermining their sovereignty, and also trafficking drugs into America, which is Hezbollah. And then you're building large missile stockpile, and your enrichment levels are up to 60%. Yeah, I believe that totally is justification for initiative. Yes, 100,000%.
Okay, you have to show why we should choose war over an alternative, which I've already described.
What's the
which we have
alternative?
empirical
Hold on,
evidence
what's the
for.
alternative?
I just told you. I've told you about 100 times. I cited ISIS's territory in Syria.
Yeah, but
was
that's not
completely
enough.
wiped out.
Dude, you're really not paying attention. ISIS is nothing like Iran. In debate, we call that a false equivalency fallacy.
No,
ISIS is
I'm
not
not
Iran.
equivocating the two. I'm equivocating ISIS to the Houthis.
Yeah. Okay. This is
Do you
another
think-
thing. What you're.
do you-
This is
do you
another
think
thing that
Iran
you're not.
wasn't
This is
funding
another.
ISIS?
This is another thing that you're not understanding, right? This is nothing.
Hold
that
on,
you're
you're
not understanding.
refusing to acknowledge that instead of attacking
Give me one
Iran,
second.
we should attack the
Give me one
terrorists.
second. Give me 1 second. You attack the terrorists and you also attack Iran and you degrade their capabilities, because if you're willing to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism, do you know what else I don't want you to do? I don't want you to continue to build your militaristic arsenal. Let me ask you, do you want this, if you have a number 1 state sponsor of terrorism, do you want them to continue, you want to allow them to continue to build their arsenal, or do you want to decrease and deplete their arsenal? Like, let's say we have the Nazi government. Hold on. Let's say that we have a Nazi government. Let's say that we had a Nazi. Don't even call it Iran. Say it's Germany, 1943, takes Iran's spot. Okay, and it's the Nazi government, and they're funding 3 different terrorist groups, and they're calling for the destruction of Israel, calling for the destruction of the West and America and Western values and all of those different things. Okay, and on top of that, they're building a very sophisticated missile program. Right, they had a pretty decent navy, and furthermore, they already had pretty high enrichment levels to, like, let's say 60%, which they weren't doing it further yet, but they could in weeks to months, according to Tulsi Gabbard. Do you think that would be enough to say, okay, we're going to have to deplete their arsenal?
You're making a confusion here. Here's your mistake. Iran is not the actual terrorist organization themselves. They are not the ones who are doing these actions. They're funding other groups.
Actually, that's not.
If
No, that's actually not true. That's actually not true. They're giving. Let me hold on. You're just wrong there, though.
So now you're shifting the goalposts.
I'm not shifting the goalposts. I'm just saying you're just wrong.
You're saying because
I want to know where your perspective
about
is.
human rights abuses from
Yeah,
Iran.
hold on, just for a
All
second.
you've done is
Just
said
for a second.
they're just a proxy,
brother. Just for a second, I want to clarify this. You're just wrong. If you think they're just purely funding these organizations, you're simply wrong. Do you know about the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, that in 1983, I believe it went in there in 1982, but the bombing happened in 1983. Like, there were American and French troops, obviously, in Beirut, only as a peacekeeping force because of the civil war that was going on, that was caused by the Palestinian insurgency, which is a different conversation, okay? Hezbollah, right, at the time, they were really newly founded there, carried out the barracks bombing, which killed over like 250-something Americans, okay? And yes, the funding was given by the IRGC. Do you know what else was given by the IRGC? Specific intelligence. In 2003, there was a federal U.S. judge that ruled that the Beirut barracks bombing happened not only because of Iranian funding, but also because of Iranian intelligence. Would you say that a government, right, that gives intelligence to an organization and funding to carry out a terrorist organization in a separate country is a terrorist themselves, especially when they kill 250 something Americans?
No, that wouldn't be reason for war.
Really? Wait, that's not reason for war. Killing 250 giving intelligence to kill 255 Americans is like in a terrorist attack is not a reason for war.
Well, they aided in it. They didn't do it themselves, which is why the alternative.
You're really trying to defend. Wow, dude. You're so anti-American.
I'm not defending.
You're really trying to say they didn't do it themselves, dude. They gave them the strategic. They gave them the material support and the intelligence and the money to do it.
Hold on, you're very black.
Are they not? Are they not culpable for that?
Sure, the justification is not for war, though.
Okay, just really quickly.
You can't be so black and white. Is Iran good?
It's not black and white.
No.
That is
okay,
no. Okay. No one is saying Iran is good or Iran is bad. That's a dumb way to
Why
reduce
did you
my
mute me in the
argument.
middle of my sentence?
No, because you're straw manning me. No, because you're straw manning me. That's no one gave you a fifth grader argument of Iran is bad. I gave you something very specific.
Brother.
I gave you a ruling. You have to let me finish, man. I gave you a ruling from a
Wait,
federal
but I
judge.
don't get to finish. You're running.
Yeah, because no one's running from you.
Yeah. Okay, you're
no one's running from
now.
you. No, it's not me being dishonest. You reduced my argument to something.
You're
reducing my argument. Dude, you keep interrupting me. I'm going to have to drop you. You're reducing my argument to something I never said. I never said Iran is bad. I gave you hyper specifics. Giving intelligence to carry out the attack, giving out material help, federal judge ruling, and you're saying they didn't specifically do it. They didn't specifically do it. And then you go on to say, well, you can't just be you can't be black and white. You can't say, well, Iran is bad. That's obviously not the argument. I gave you very specific things.
You interrupted me. You have no clue what I said. That wasn't what I said.
No, I know exactly what you said, brother. I know exactly what you said.
Do you want to hear what I actually said?
I mean, I already know what you said. So if you say something different, it's not going to change.
I'm not saying you're black and white on is Iran good or bad. That's not what I said at all. But you couldn't stand to listen to me.
No, that's not what I said either.
Open your ears.
That's not what I said either. You're not comprehending the conversation. That's not what I said either.
No. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Instead, you're being black and white on what we should do about Iran. If they're going to be doing all these bad things and that they're doing a certain level of bad things, that we have to attack them versus not attack them. Those are the only two options that you have presented. While I'm providing an alternative, and instead of saying, oh yeah, this alternative doesn't work because of this, you said, well, no, we just attack them because that's the only option here.
Also, never said that.
Yes,
you're straw manning me. You're straw manning me. You're
alternatives.
I've addressed. No. You haven't won. You haven't
How
even
did you
given me
address
any
this?
alternatives. You haven't even given me any alternatives. By the way, if you were, hold on, Zacho. Let me help you out. If you were smarter. Yeah, look at me. The only person that's been comprehending the conversation. So yeah, the only thing you gave me was not how to deal with Iran specifically. You told me how to deal with the group that they're already funding just by bombing them, right? And just bombing the group and bombing the group and bombing the group, which the group can obviously continue to rejuvenate as long as they have more and more and more money. So you're not actually fixing the issue there, right? You're not telling me how to address the main perpetrator of all the crimes. You're just telling me how I can deal with the criminals. It's like me creating a criminal organization with all of these different people doing all of these different things. And your solution as an FBI agent is not to get the person responsible that is perpetrating all of these different crimes, these sophisticated crime networks. You're like, no, let's just keep getting the criminals, but let the person actually responsible for all of the crime be there and do nothing about them whatsoever. That is actually what you're proposing. That is an equivalent analogy. Your analogy is we have a person. This is the main thing. We have a group or an entity responsible for global terrorism. Okay, that group is Iran. That group is more specifically the IRGC. You're saying, hey, just bomb the groups that are funding, just like the FBI agent would say, hey, we know that this is the person giving all the money for the narco trafficking. What we're gonna do is just get the narco traffickers, but never get the head, never get the main perpetrator. Yeah, dude, your solution is, I can't say the word up here because we're on TikTok, but your solution is regarded. It is the dumbest solution I've ever heard of ever.
Amazing. Only that it worked in Joe's first term. No, we can talk about a deeper solution to Iran as a whole. When we want to talk about curbing terrorism, then we need to take out the terrorists. That is the most effective way to do this. And again, I'm citing the empirics. And so instead of showing, oh, well, why did ISIS grow back? Was it because oh, Iran just still existed. And even though Trump continued to bomb them, they just managed to hold on to territory in Iraq and Syria all these years. No, they were completely wiped out. Terrorism was down globally. It wasn't until the Biden administration, when we pulled out of the Middle East, that we saw this increase in terrorism. So I don't know where you're getting at that this isn't going to solve the problem, because the empirics blatantly disagree with you. I need you to address that.
Okay, I want to ask you a quick question because I already answered that question. We haven't answered mine. Does capturing dealers and the suppliers?
No. So thank you for running.
Took you a while to answer that one. No, hold on. Took you a while to answer that one. Wait, who's the supplier and who are the dealers
I was
in this
like
example?
rubbing my eyes because I was shocked.
Who are the,
how blatantly
rubbing your eyes? Rubbing your eyes doesn't stop you from being able to listen, right? just help you out there, really
which
quickly.
Which is why
right?
I listened.
Yeah, which is why it took you so long. But who's
but then
the supplier? Wait, hold on. Who's the supplier?
Do you think Trump?
Stop. Who's the supplier and who are the dealers? Wait, because I want you to focus on the question. Who are the suppliers and who are the dealers?
Wait, you couldn't focus on my question, though?
Who are the suppliers and who are the dealers in this example?
And just say you couldn't focus on my question.
Who are the suppliers and who are the dealers in this question?
Yeah, and
this is where we play games. Are you ready for it, guys? This is where we play games. Let's go ahead and play the who are the suppliers and who are the dealers in this example? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, can you turn off the sound?
I don't know where it's coming from, to be quite frank with you. Can you guys turn off the sound, someone?
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, Iran is the supplier, and the terrorists are the dealers.
But you just defeated your own argument, because earlier you were saying...
No, I'm just going to say that you're incorrect with that analogy.
Okay. But you kind of actually agreed with it, because the analogy follows that the drug dealer, there's still going to be more and more dealers as long as the suppliers exist, right? And you agreed that the supplier is Iran and that the terrorist groups are obviously the terrorist groups that are the suppliers, or the dealers, sorry. And so under this analogy, even if you do destroy the Houthis, there could be a newer group, or they could rejuvenate because the supply has not ended. If you're an FBI agent, by the way, who do you track down first? The plenty of different dealers that are all over the place, or the main suppliers that all of those dealers are based off of?
No, I think what we actually do, if we want to make this analogous, we say that the way to stop drug abuse is to kill the market for it. So when we kill every terrorist that tries to take territory in the Middle East, then there's not going to be a market for terrorism, because it's not going to be beneficial to them to just be absolutely slaughtered. So we can curb it without invading Iran unjustly.
We're not even invading Iran.
What?
We're not invading Iran. Do you think you mean the ground invasion? Like there's no ground invasion on Iran, not even an amphibious invasion.
No.
So that's not. There's no invasion.
Okay, forgive me for using the word invasion. So instead, we're going to curb the market. We're not curb the market. We're going to kill the market by making it not beneficial for terrorists to pop up, which is exactly what we did in Trump's first term.
That would be analogous That would be analogous to killing multiple different dealers that are all over the place. By the way, so you're saying you rather
that'd
do
be
that?
Analogous to
you rather do that than to get the main supplier.
Drugs. No. What I'm saying is that there's not going to be a market for these suppliers to have dealers to sell to the public, because the public doesn't want to buy it.
This is your issue. Islamic terrorism is not something that people buy. That's sort of where your issue is that when someone is a religious fundamentalist, it's not that, hey, I'm buying this narcotic because I think that this will help me with whatever I'm dealing with. No, these Islamic extremists literally believe that if they do terrorism against Americans and they blow themselves up, they will get rewarded with 72 virgins in heaven or something. So that's a false equivalency also. That has nothing to do with what the market actually even is. The market is a bunch of people that are Muslims that tend to actually be radical Islamist fundamentalists that are willing to die for their cause no matter how many times you kill them, right? Unless you completely kill all of them. But even if you do that, even if you try to kill all of the dealers, which although the American military is very good, ISIS is obviously still exists to some extent. So what you have to do is you have to cut off the supplier. You have to address the supplier directly. Any detective would agree with me that if there's a sophisticated network of dealers that are based off of one supplier, you get the supplier. That's just how it is. And I want to ask you one question.
Why did it work in Trump's first term?
Why did it work in Trump's first term? What? Continuing the bombings of ISIS?
Yeah, targeting the terrorists.
Yeah, no one's saying, wait, we've done that too under Trump's second term.
Yeah, and when we only targeted the terrorists and we didn't launch missiles into Iran, why did we still see a massive global decline in terrorism?
Wait, did that stop Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, for example, for coming and doing what they were gonna do years after? Because let me ask you, like, what year would you say Trump killed ISIS?
In 2019.
Okay. Do you know what that didn't prevent? It didn't prevent Hamas from attacking Israel on October 7th and doing the second largest terrorist attack in the 21st century. It did not stop the Houthis in Yemen in 2024, more specifically, from doing $200 billion worth of economic damage by disrupting the Red Sea. Right, and it also didn't stop Hezbollah from continuing their South American drug trafficking organization and doing terrorism in Lebanon. So, do you notice how, although you got one of the dealers, you didn't get all of them, and even if you were to keep going after all of them, if the supplier remains untouched and he can continue to make money and he can continue to rejuvenate his dealers, then that will just happen more and more and more. And by the way, there was a time where the IRGC struggled actually to continue funding Hezbollah because they were, I believe in 2008, they were going through like financial hellhole, okay? Financial issues. And so what Hezbollah did was they went to South America and they were like, hey, let's work with these narco trafficking groups and let's do some money smuggling here so we can make some money. So even these terrorist organizations can even not only just be proxies, but work themselves up to a point where they can start making their own money and funding their own proxy groups. So you have to get the head. But I want to ask you this question. I think it's the most important. What would actually constitute a war with Iran? What if they killed President Trump? What if they killed Trump or tried to kill Trump? Would that be enough?
Yeah, it would.
Okay. So if they try to kill Trump, that'd be enough?
Yeah, like an actual assassination attempt for sure.
Okay, so what do you think about the Pakistani guy that was convicted by the DOJ for trying to kill Trump around the same time where Butler happened? When Butler happened. And by the way, he actually went on to admit that the IRGC specifically told him to kill Trump.
Did we validate that claim?
Yeah, that's what he said. That it was validated, that he had IRGC links.
No, did he have IRGC links?
Yes, that's what the DOJ found. You can look it up. Pakistani man convicted for trying to assassinate Donald Trump. You can look it up.
Let's see. Alleged plot. Let's see. In March.
Yeah, so it says Asif Merchant, a 47-year-old Pakistani national with ties to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, right, was convicted by a federal jury in Brooklyn on March 6, 2026, for orchestrating a foiled murder-for-hire plot targeting U.S. political figures, including Donald Trump. So, yes, the DOJ concluded, and it's on the DOJ website, that he indeed had connections with the IRGC. Not just a guy LARPing and saying, I have connections with the IRGC, him actually having connections with the IRGC. And so would this, for you, be enough?
No, he didn't make an attempt.
Wait, this guy's kicking the can down the road. So you can
What, are you serious? You asked me. You asked me if he has to make an attempt.
Trying to kill Trump.
Like,
wait, hold on, just really quickly. So they actually have to take. Wait, just really quickly. Do they have to get on top of a roof? Do they have to make it to the spot where Trump is? What do they have to specifically do in order for it to be enough for you?
Yeah, they had to take actual actions.
They have to take the shot.
They don't have to take the shot. They had to make an attempt. So he didn't make an attempt. He didn't do anything.
I'm curious. Do they actually have to take the shot? Because earlier you were questioning whether or not
no.
Okay, so they just have to get on top of a roof with a rifle? Can you tell me what they have to specifically do in order? So yeah. Apparently, according to him, the IRGC giving you money, giving you intel, telling you to target Donald Trump or certain other conservative political officials. No, that's not enough. You actually have to get on top of a roof with a rifle, but not take a shot yet necessarily in order for it to officially count as casus belli, you know, so that didn't justify for war. So you're saying that if hold on, really quickly. I don't. We've done a lot of things that we never did in the past, buddy. Just making sure you know that. So you're saying
Okay,
that
so I'm glad you agree
if
this
it
is
was
not
not,
justification for
so
war.
if it was not, no, I'm not saying it was not a justification for war. I just think your classification
Well, you
is
agree
silly.
that
But
this
let
has
me ask
never
you a
been
question.
considered a justification for war.
Okay, no, that's not what you even said. What you said is we have never gone to war for this. That's not the same thing as this isn't something that we would do, or this isn't something that we would go to war over, right? Those are two different things.
Then justify that claim.
Yeah, but that's a different conversation. I'll do that in a second, but I want to ask you a question really quickly, right? So my question is this. If it was not, I forget the guy's name, by the way, that even tried to shoot at Trump, at Butler. But if it was the Pakistani guy himself instead, they got shot and killed on that roof for trying to kill Trump, then you would totally be for the Iran war, right?
Yeah.
So that would be enough for you. And then we'd go in, and what would we target when we go in?
We'd target the government, like the political leaders.
What about their missile stockpiles? Would we leave them alone?
Yeah, we could target them too.
So we target. Like, what about their Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow nuclear facilities? Would we go after them then?
I think there's another argument around that, but I'm not too concerned with nuclear weapons personally. I'm a mutually assured destruction guy, but we didn't really get to the nuclear part. We seem more
So wait, really
terrorism.
quickly. All it would have taken was that Pakistani guy to get on the roof instead of the crooks guy, and then you would totally be for bombing their missile facilities, taking out their political leadership, depleting their navy, doing all of those different things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for coming up, man.
I appreciate you.
Well, wrong thing. Like, does that even seem serious? Like, does that even, like, come on, guys. I mean, YouTube chat says, boom, long live liberty. I appreciate you. Justin Lewis says, love you, man. Thank you. Like, does that even, come on, that seems like a joke, right? We still have a ton of people in the guest request. Or, like, does that not seem like a joke to you guys? Like, yeah, man, if only the Pakistani guy that already received money to kill Donald Trump, already had intel, direct connection with the IRGC, not just proclaimed connection, but direct connection to the IRGC. But all it would have taken, man, was for him to get a gun and get on some roof, and then we could bomb their nuclear facilities and actually punish them for supporting global terrorism. Only then would it be justified. Oh, man. That is insane. Matt Rice, Cora. I don't even know who Cora is. Does that not seem... We have 5 people in the guest request. Oh, Cora is that... she's that Islam... She's a Dawa girl, right? She's like that sort of... If you guys don't know what Dawa... The Dawa sort of people are, they're basically like a... Islamic apologists. They sort of defend Islam and make arguments for Islam and so on and so forth. But that's super fucking funny, dude. It took that guy so long. I really want to debate her, but I don't think we have any time because we're gonna end the stream on the 2-hour mark, man. Matt's excited. She's so annoying. Yeah, she is really annoying. Dawa girls, yeah. I don't even know, man. I mean, according to the hadiths, a woman's witness is worth that half of a man. So I don't know why she wants to debate me if her witness is worth that half of mine. So that's kind of an interesting phenomenon. But that was really fun. That was really fun. Let me in. Oh yeah, I do remember that you wanted to. You waited a bit. You wanted to ask me a question about what was it again? I don't even know. What is that sound effect? I don't know where that's coming from. I always tell people that I have no idea where that's even coming from. It just randomly comes about. Let me up, Matt. I don't even know who you are, Kim. Do I know you, Kim? You seem familiar. Let her in, guys. We're nearing the 2-hour mark. Let me ask some Mossad agents what they think. What do you guys think? Do you guys should I let her up and do this debate? Because we're already at the 2-hour mark. I'm not afraid to debate her or anything. She's not obviously more knowledgeable than me on this topic, but tell it to Mossad. Yes, Cooker. Yeah, he did have some questions for me. Okay, let me answer his questions because he's actually been really respectful. What's up, dude?
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
What's up, man? You actually waited for a bit, so I gotta give you respect for that, man. What's up? What do you have for us?
Yeah, no, it's all right. So yeah, I just have like a question. I know that you, I guess, are sort of like an, I guess, quote unquote, asset of the Daily Wire, and so I was just kind of like wanting to hear your like point of view on the 2028 Republican primary. But I didn't want to, that's as best as I can put that. But
okay.
But so the way I see it, I think we're gonna have at least like three different like pockets of candidates. We might see, excuse me, we might see Vance in there, running as he's going to try to at least pose to be a populist. I think I saw like Tucker Carlson. I mean, I know that his son works for Vance.
Worked for Vance. He no longer does, but he worked for Vance at one point. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, and they've been talking about being best friends and whatnot. And then I think we might even see like a neoconservative like Rubio, and then I think we might see a populist like section. And I was just wondering, like, what do you think is like the game plan there? Because I feel like post Trump is going to look definitely a lot different than it does now. I mean, I don't know if MAGA is going to be, sort of still the central power of the Republican the Republican Party, or is it going to be like more of a neoconservatives like we've had before, like in the 2000s and early 2010s?
I don't think it's going to be any Tucker Carlson endorsed candidate, or certainly Tucker Carlson himself.
No.
Yeah, his son worked for Vance, but no longer does. I think Vance and Tucker are still close, which poses some questions. Poses a decent amount of questions. I think that we're going to see neocons, or what people call neocons. I don't think that Marco Rubio even describes himself as a neocon or any of those guys, but if you want to call them neocons, I think we're going to probably see people like them again in there. And I like Rubio. I think a lot of people like Rubio. I think that polls have showed that Rubio is actually more popular than Vance, which actually would be a positive and a good thing. Can you tell me? I just want to know who would be the anti-Israel, pro-Iran, or sort of isolationist Republican that has a realistic chance of winning? Because the way that I see it is that Trump is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party, and that in order for anyone to sort of gain momentum, gain popularity, and actually be successful, they would have to receive an endorsement from Trump. Now, there's a lot of questions about like Trump's health. I think mentally he's doing great, but physically, like if he makes it up until that point, 2028, which I hope he really does, we will see his endorsement, and whoever he supports will have the most amount of chance winning of the Republican primary for president. I think that's how it is, and so it's going to be someone who's pretty hawkish on foreign policy. I think like who would be the realistic alternative Republican? Not Massey, right? I mean, he couldn't even win a seat in Kentucky, right? So
no, he talked. I know that Massey at his, what was it? I think his I guess not acceptance speech of the nominee, the losing speech that he gave. He was talking about running for president, and I don't think that Massey. I mean, he might run for president, but I don't think he will gain a substantial amount of Republicans that will rally behind him, because I feel like he's more not like, I guess he's anti-Israel, and there is anti-Israel factions of the Republican Party. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Massey. I think it could be someone else. It's not going to be Tucker for sure, but I think I personally, Rubio sounds like a better of a speaker. I think he's more professional than Vance. I think Rubio, I think it'll be Rubio out of all of those three. It definitely depends on who Trump taps in, sort of, with the endorsement. I mean, you can't really win without a Trump endorsement. I think he's been 97%.
But I think it's like nearly 100%. Like we know what happened.
Nearly, yeah. Like there was there was like a race that it was the Iowa gubernatorial primary that Zach Lon beat whoever Trump endorsed. But I think that definitely like a populist.
Sorry,
not a populist. Yeah. Sorry about that. There was definitely not a Republican populist uprising that's going to happen at least now. I guess maybe later, but I think now it's whoever Trump's going to tap in, obviously. But I guess the big question is it's going to be Vance or Rubio, because I know he talked about Rubio at the State of the Union. But I know that he definitely likes Vance, and Vance is pretty young and trying to at least get tapped.
I think it's going to likely be Rubio. I remember seeing an article in which Trump indirectly sort of already hinted at Rubio being his pick. I forget, he mentioned something about Cuba and who would like be in the Oval Office in 4 years or something like that. I think I heard him say something like that. So I think it's probably going to be Rubio over Vance, especially if Vance becomes more of a dissident. Even if Vance wins, right? Let's say it's Vance and not Rubio. Even if that's the case, I don't think that Vance is going to be like super against the Iran war or Tucker Carlson level necessarily either, right? Now, I think who really should be talking about this is like who's going to be their 2029 guy are the Democrats. The Democrats should be talking about this. The Democrats are decentralized. They don't have a person with like a lot of sort of endorsement power. They don't. Gavin Newsom is disrespected all the time by the DSA and people that are more far left, and Kamala Harris also is because of her foreign policy statements. And because the Democratic Party is being eroded by far left communists and not people that are just willing to take, I don't know, slightly higher taxes and open borders or something. They want more, right? Like leftists want a lot more from the Democratic Party, and by a lot more is they want to basically erode the establishment, and they want something completely different. And so they are going to struggle quite badly. I don't know who their person is going to be. It's interesting thinking about it. So many things could change in obviously 3 years, so we'll just know then. But I really want to know where the foreign policy stance of Democrats, like what it's going to look like. I think it's going to look very different from where it is now. So yeah, we'll see, man. Thank you for coming up, and I appreciate you waiting to ask me that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it. All right, that will conclude episode 10 of the Nuclear Reaction, guys. I will be back on air this Monday, and so I'll see you guys then. I'm also going to be heading over to New York City tomorrow to film some more content, specifically in reference to the DSA, their candidates, their far-left policy, MAMDANI, and stuff like that. I wish I had an outro. We have to get an outro for this. Anyway, peace out, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.